This morning, a massive cleanup effort is set to begin in California after a days-long storm packing historic rainfall-triggered mudslides and rare hurricane-force winds left a deadly trail of destruction. At least 3 people in Northern California have been killed by falling trees. North of Santa Cruz, this woman narrowly avoiding disaster. Ow! A tree falling onto the roof of her car, the vehicle damaged, but she's okay. Farther south, parts of Los Angeles getting 12 inches of rain, more than a month's worth in 24 hours. More than a dozen people had to be rescued.
Quick look at this Los Angeles River behind me is still surreal because it's usually dry, and now we've got these ferocious rapids.
The mudslides, devastating. Dozens of buildings damaged or destroyed. Cars left buried in thick mounds of muck. Entire homes washed away.
So many slides in the hills around Los Angeles, but this is by far the worst. This home being pushed off its property onto this roadway, everything inside exploding out of it and sliding down this hill, including this piano.
Officials calling it one of the wettest storms since record-keeping began in the 1870s. President Biden called into a news conference with LA's mayor.
We'll get any help on the way as soon as you guys request it.
Through all the devastation, a heartwarming rescue. This man jumping into a rushing river in Los Angeles to save his dog. Firefighters pulling him into a helicopter and later finding his dog downstream. Both are now safe.
More rain is expected today, but it won't be as heavy. Still, with the ground so saturated, officials are warning of more mudslides.
We're going to get into this lesson concerning another thing that Esau, Edom, has renamed that is actually contained in the Holy Bible. We're going to find that out today because this man has a habit of coming up with new terms, changing around terms, switching around terms. But we have read about this in the scriptures and we're seeing it happen all around the world. And in this case, we're talking about the state of California in the United States of America.
I'll begin by divulging a mystery. We explain everything away in our own way, because it is in our power to do so. We control all media forms. Quote, climate change is our explanation for all extreme weather phenomena as it becomes worse over time. We don't want to accept that our domination upon the earth is coming to an end, so we have to Eurosplain as we continue to maintain our control. We will continue toward our agenda until we are taken out of the way by the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We don't like to refer to these weather events as of, quote, biblical proportions, even though that is the exact and best explanation for these events. This is our newly contrived explanation for the extreme rainstorms that we're observing in this country. We call them, quote, atmospheric rivers. An atmospheric river is a narrow corridor or filament of concentrated moisture in the atmosphere. Other names for this phenomenon are tropical plume, tropical connection, moisture plume, water vapor surge, and cloud band. We tell you that the causes. What causes an atmospheric river? The warmer sea surface temperatures associated with El Niño provide additional moisture to the atmosphere, contributing to the development of more intense atmospheric rivers and extreme precipitation. Atmospheric rivers have recently gained significant attention in the news. This is how we came up with this newly contrived name. Name origin. Why is it called atmospheric river? The storm is due to an atmospheric river effect, a phenomenon in which water evaporates into the air and is carried along by the wind, forming long currents that flow in the sky like rivers flow on land. We have given what we believe to be the worst category of atmospheric rivers, a Category 5. What is a Category 5 atmospheric river? Category 5, exceptional. A Category 5 atmospheric river is primarily hazardous. The United States Geological Survey gives the example of an atmospheric river that lasted over 100 hours over the central California coast during the 1996-97 New Year's holiday period. The heavy rain and runoff caused over $100 billion in damage. Before we contrived this new name, these types of storms were known in several other terms. Another name for atmospheric river. An atmospheric river is a narrow corridor or filament of concentrated moisture in the atmosphere. Other names for this phenomenon are tropical plume, tropical connection, moisture plume, water vapor surge, and cloud band. The following is from our record of the atmospheric river history. Atmospheric rivers generally hit California every year, but extreme ones, such as the 1861 to 1862 event, only occur every 150 to 200 years, according to geological records. They are just as likely as a future major quake and could cost California 3 times as much. From earthdate.org. The origins of the term atmospheric river is from an American university. Term origin. Where did the term atmospheric river come from? It is a nickname for a strong atmospheric river in the tropical Pacific near Hawaii. Where did the term atmospheric river come from? The name came from research published in the 1990s by scientists Yong Zhu and Reginald E. Newell of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
The Lord said he would not destroy man from the face of the earth again with water. And we find this in Genesis chapter 9, verse 11. Hey, 911. And I, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, will establish my covenant with you, speaking to Noah. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. The Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, does punish man with water. We see this in Isaiah chapter 29 verse 6 and a multitude of other scriptures. Thou shalt be visited, that is punished, by the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. Climate change is the judgment of the Most High Power, who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers thunder, earthquake, great noise, storm, tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. This is what we are actually observing over California. From Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. And the Most High said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And the Most High made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And the Most High called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. So you see there's waters above and waters below. Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. This concerns the greatest past tempest and storm, which is the flood. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. This is the source of the waters from below and above. Now, Genesis chapter 8, verse 2. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. But there's more to come, and worse to come. Now, I need you to pay very close attention to where these events are occurring, because there is a judgment upon a particular group of people. Esau, Edom.
Los Angeles, the city of angels, and this week it had biblical rainfall. They're calling it a historic storm, but in this town where Botox is more common than tap water, history isn't always pretty. A storm that I'll explain later had a much different impact to the normal.
This is some of the strongest wind I've ever felt in California. This is a result of that very powerful atmospheric river that's coming ashore here in California. Several parts of the state feeling hurricane force gusts like this. Of course, that's very dangerous with the power grid. These power poles are leaning back and forth. Nearby Interstate 5, semis at risk and high-profile vehicles from flipping over with this very powerful wind as well. Cars dodging tumbleweeds, the least of the problems. This is a multifaceted storm. Not only this very strong wind in certain areas, but also several feet of snow in the mountains, and the biggest impact likely the rain.
These storms can be responsible for up to half of the West Coast's annual precipitation. This one just happened to dump several months' worth in Southern California in a day. To where conditions were getting more dangerous, the hills around Los Angeles. The first major mud flow happened in Studio City. Brown water running down the street like a raging river is a bad sign. You can see amongst the boulders debris from homes above. With darkness and danger of further slides growing with each raindrop. But please, hearing and seeing are two different things.
It's terrifying when you see the just pure power and the force that this debris flow had as it crashed down from the hillside above this home, bringing with it boulders, slamming through this home, and then just creating chaos. Crushing debris, things that were stored inside of this garage, and then pushing it downhill. You can see this car completely crushed from a column, and then several more cars pushed across the street, and the debris flowing downhill. It was like a raging river.
These mountains used to actually be 3 times taller than they are now. Erosion, caused by forces like rain, have whittled the Santa Monica Mountains down to around 1,000 to 3,000 feet. The soil here has a limit, how much moisture it can take before it loosens. A foot of rain is well beyond that limit, and it became not if, but when and where another slide or debris flow would happen.
It happens frequently, yes. It's I think just areas that there's not that much vegetation, it gets soaked like this, she just goes.
Is this something people even talk about, or is it like out of sight, out of mind?
It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. A couple people in the neighborhood will, they'll prep, put some sandbags out, and, do the right thing, get some wattles.
But what can you prep with on this? Like, if an
with this amount of rain, you really can't prep for something like this. I don't think anything's really going to prepare you for this amount.
It damaged 25 structures. But in an unusual reverse of the greatest impacts we usually see in natural disasters, the city's wealthiest, not its poorest zip codes, were hit the hardest. The city's wealthiest, not its poorest zip codes, were hit the hardest. The city's wealthiest, not its poorest zip codes, were hit the hardest. Disaster even came to the 90210. Disaster even came to the 90210. Disaster even came to the 90210.
A skid steer is being used to try and remove a literal mountain of mud that came down the hillside. Boulders, mud, sometimes even landslides, entire backyards slipping down the mountainside. Numerous homes are impacted by this, people being evacuated, trying to find someplace else to stay while they can.
Just saw it flood.
Yeah?
and then it started coming in, and it started filling up on the door. Like the top house, the landslide just started coming down. Our 3 cars up there are buried in mud.
Was there any like warning, or did it just happen?
No, it just kind of started happening.
The city's wealthiest, not its poorest zip codes, were hit the hardest. The city's wealthiest, not its poorest zip codes, were hit the hardest.
And good morning to you, Tony. The soil here is so saturated, it has the consistency of Vaseline. And as a result, we're seeing a number of mudslides and landslides. The home behind me, what is left of it, is a perfect example. Its physical address was actually back there along the canyon wall there. It was dislodged from its foundation, crashing here into the driveway. And we know that because underneath all of this is a car. It also hit into the neighboring building. Fortunately, there was no one inside at the time, but we've spoken with a number of residents here who weren't as lucky.
Literally, it just happened in 3 seconds. Rumbling, big bang, throwing debris and pieces of the ceiling off of my body, you know.
PJ Bearfield told us it felt like an earthquake when a mudslide crashed through his LA home without warning Monday morning, knocking out the back walls, destroying his bedroom while he slept in it, and covering everything in a thick sludge.
I wake up and my bed is in my kitchen and my living room, just underneath mud, debris, trees, everything. I tell you, I don't know how I'm alive right now.
Look at this slide, oh my gosh.
Heavy rains throughout Southern California have triggered widespread mudslides and flash flooding.
I'm in a survival mode right now, you know.
Perrineau said the mud first broke through a window early in the morning Monday, and the damage worsened as debris continued to seep in throughout the day.
My bedroom is completely flooded. It's still raining, and it's still going into my bedroom. So, you know, it's like this is such a mind blow.
And the mayor of LA confirms there have been more than 300 landslides and mudslides across the region, and the threat continues along with the rain, Vlad.
Further up Malibu Canyon, there's a ton of landslides, mudslides, boulders in the middle of the road that close that down through the morning hours. And further east, there's another canyon, Topanga Canyon, and that was the one that was just up recently, and there was a lot of slides on that as well. That was closed, and I spoke to some people. Their homes were flooded out there along that canyon, and that flow came right over the road that is up Topanga Canyon there. Beverly Glen, though, is probably the worst damage that I saw, and all of that was from mud flows, mudslides, debris deposited on the road, and that is in the eastern part of the Santa Monica Mountains where the greatest amount of rainfall happened, about 5 to 10, even up to 15 inches of rain, verified by rain gauges, and that happened last night as that flow was orthogonal right up into the mountains. Worst timing, too, because it happened in the middle of the night. So as life-threatening as it can get here across Southern California, but especially peaking last night, and now it's beginning to subside this evening.
All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai.